Do you want to co-host?
Um, Give me a minute. Why am I not logged in? Um, I made you, yeah, make me the co-host. I wanted to make sure I made you the host before I dropped off and there was any issues.
Okay. Well, welcome to our LinkedIn deep dive session. And we're going to talk about optimizing your profile, your network, and voice on LinkedIn. I am proud to be here, but I'm also proud to have my partner and the Hall of Famer, Seppi, with me, who is going to add a lot of value in how to make your LinkedIn profile the best it can be. I know, Seppi, you had added this about Brighthour Foundation.
Yeah, just again, thank you, Vince, for taking your time to be here with us. And those of you on here, please know again, this is rather informal. We want to make sure it is a space for common learning. So if you have anything you've ever tried on your LinkedIn profile or LinkedIn digital branding, please feel free to speak up and share. Because our foundation is really here to try to empower the next generation of healthcare, any profession, within our healthcare industry. We are here to provide scholarships, mentorship, and some resources as illustrated by this webinar so that we can foster their growth and their space here in our industry. And as we all progress through our careers and where we're going, we're ensuring to support the next generation of professionals. And our vision is to do it through the people that are here right now, through our board of directors, through our community supporters like Vince. We are only here to share knowledge and provide support to those students wherever they are in that journey. Back to you, Vince.
Thank you. Um, so just a very, very little bit about myself. Most of my professional career has been spent in the advertising industry, majority of it focused on healthcare. Healthcare is more than just a vertical for me, it's a passion. Everything about healthcare. Specifically, I have a passion for talent, brand, and recruitment marketing. And so I consult with a lot of hospital leaders, human resources, and talent acquisition professionals on how to build and maintain a talent acquisition strategy or employer branding. And I am a proud member, volunteer, where I met Seppi, of the American College of Healthcare Executives of Georgia and serve on the communications committee with Seppi. And so today we're going to engage everyone in a little bit of education and training for everybody who's interested in empowering them to support the foundation through enhancing their LinkedIn presence. And our outcome, our goal, is to offer insights in these individual profiles, but then also see how we can all add and engage with the Bright Hour LinkedIn page. We're going to simplify the LinkedIn usage for everybody. I'm sure you know or may not know there's a lot of noise, positive and negative, on LinkedIn right now about what to do, how to do it, who to do it with. And sometimes for me, when I see all that, I tend to move or gravitate towards people I trust, like Seppi, and then people who are doing it authentically. And so hopefully today you may find a little bit of that magic in this. We'll do our best to deliver a step-by-step guidance on posting and tagging and sharing. And hopefully you'll see we'll equip you with the strategies to effectively promote the benefits of the foundation and what they're doing in the community. So the agenda will cover profile optimization, the searchability and algorithm awareness, the network strategy, voice and thought leadership. Maybe you're on another side of this, which is career and opportunity tools. There's some homework if you like to do homework after webinars, and then a brief overview and best practices for engagement for the foundation's LinkedIn profile. Okay, so why LinkedIn and why not other platforms? Well, LinkedIn is the world's largest professional network. LinkedIn does not like to associate itself with a social media platform. It's different from that, although you may see the energy around it like a social media platform. It is a great platform to show your professional growth and visibility of your personal brand. And then from any organization standpoint, it's a great tool to expand the visibility and reach. It connects with broader healthcare leadership if that's the vertical that we're focusing on. And then anything that has to do with around attendance events or membership growth, engagement, satisfaction, the platform really does help with all of that. And Seppi, let me know if there's anything else in there from a chapter standpoint, a foundation standpoint.
I think you're spot on so far.
All right. Today you're going to see some examples, and I'm not shy to say I'm just going to go ahead and exploit Seppi's LinkedIn profile. Again, I love it, and I think you should love it too, and how she's organized it, how authentic it is. And so if you start with the basics, and this has changed and evolved over time, the headline strategy. Um, if you've been on LinkedIn for a while, you know that it was like, be clear about your job title. I do this. I am a director of marketing or so on. Well, that's changed a lot. These headlines strategy has gotten to more of a your role and value and your industry. It's like what Seppi has done. It helps. I'm going to move this a little bit. It helps people when they're searching different profiles to see, excuse me, to see what the different learning paths you've taken, suggested job opportunities, things like healthcare IT leader, you're improving access and cyber resilience, things that CEPI has in that area. And then, of course, it's important with your profile here, image with a purpose. It serves as great branding, organizational logos or thought leadership or subtitles. Wherever you're associated with, that just helps with the personal branding of your LinkedIn profile. Anything to add there, Seppi?
Again, team, if there's anything you all ever want to add in, please feel free to do so as well. But the one thing that I've often reiterated with anyone when we're discussing LinkedIn, for example, at HIMSS 26, they had a lot of HIMSS, excuse me, they had a lot of LinkedIn sessions where we reviewed people's LinkedIn profiles. So LinkedIn should be something that you're often reviewing and changing based on where you are in your journey to Vince's point. At that headline, you really should be representing what you're focused on right now in your career, and it can change in 5 years and 10 years, or maybe even sooner or later, and utilizing the tools that you might be comfortable with. That little bullet there, use AI. If you're stuck on verbiage, you're stuck on how to make something short and sweet, or you're stuck on how do you make yourself stand out, engaging with a tool that is of comfort with your, with you, and putting in some keywords, putting in your vision, interact with it. There is no shame in that. There is nothing wrong with that. I know often in school, there's a balance of what you do with these tools, but I think on trying to optimize what your visualization is out there on this board, it is a great tool to utilize to see how it can interact with your vision and what you're trying to put your brand out there as.
Excellent. I agree. And I'm sure we all have to realize this little badge here, that's a verification badge on LinkedIn. It's also very important to get verified. Again, with the different amounts of communications that may be good or bad that are happening, it's good to have that little verification badge.
And if you notice that little verification badge ties it to my full name, So because it's tied to the Me ID and that verification and how I have all that, I cannot edit that. So it has my full name and everything. So again, that's how it's all tied together, and the limitation of editing that then kind of goes away.
That's a great point.
Another thing that in this modern day and age, fake profiles are becoming more and more relevant. So the
Yes.
importance of verifying your profile to making sure that anybody who is viewing you is 100% certain that you are real and not fake is absolutely critical.
That's a great point. That is a great point. It seems to be happening more and more today. Breaking down the sections, the About section framework, Seppi outlined this really well for us. The About section, the who I am, the what I do, the who I help, which I found interesting and great. The proof of that in any calls to action within that About section. And when in experience in the section upgrade, it's actions and outcomes and metrics combined with competencies. That is great content for recruiters if people are looking or you're looking for a job. But that just validates the things that you have done, metrics or numbers behind the projects you worked on. Those are really important. You'll get questions like when people, I increased sales 4x over the last year. People are challenging that more and more and want to see more value in the things that you've done. And then badges and certifications, important for visibility and skills. So you can see here in Seppi's profile, all the certifications that she's listed. Again, to me, that creates a lot of validation and a lot of authenticity into things that you do or she has done. And it just validates that whole process as well. Anything to add here, group, about the profile experience and so on?
And Caroline, you might have some perspective on this as well. I know even this was a growing opportunity for maybe my generation and what represents me. However, I know even in high school now and in colleges, these optimizations and how badges and credentials are tied into your profile, how it's pushed, are taught and part of the workflow. I know just even for my son who's in high school senior, the different certifications are pushed, and he's taught all this in his cyber classes. And when young talent often see each other, they're exchanging LinkedIn QR codes now. So it's becoming a little bit more part of their generation and growth right now with even individuals in colleges and universities. So, Caroline, I don't know if you're experiencing that as well, but I know this whole concept of making sure that your certifications and sort is not only captured but tied in with the badges that are given by often the entity that is offering that credential puts that in their system, and that's tied to your profile on LinkedIn.
Absolutely, Seppi. So I tell students when it comes to the recruiting fairs, when they come to talk to me about the internship program, we're using the QR codes to connect with each other, right? Less paper, right? We're in technology, we're going to try to use it as much as possible. But also, I'm also telling them that as much as resumes are extremely important on paper, obviously they're creating these through the computer, that your LinkedIn account is your resume. And
Hmm.
so it's so important that we're able to feature as much information as possible for a student who's trying to get into the technical field, right? Where it shows certification, it shows courses that they were extremely interested or very versed in, certifications if they have it during their high school or college timeline. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with that statement.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, coming from the staffing and recruiting industry, people early in careers usually won't have as vast of a resume to build off of. So, showing those certifications, showing those classes that you took, and another thing that you can also list on there are class projects that you've worked on. So you can use specific use cases where you've worked within specific areas within your practicum, and it can be really good to help highlight you early in your career. And secondly, I like the part that you have on here, Vince, about the action outcome metrics and competencies. Today's day and age is increasingly more driven by outcome based and showing your metrics. So if you can highlight those outcomes that you've been able to provide the value to these organizations from a numerical standpoint is really going to help you stand out amongst your peers within the workspace. So definitely focus on outcomes and your metrics within your LinkedIn profiles for more people later in their career.
So, team, I got to ask a question, and I'm not very knowledgeable in this area. So, there is a growing energy and usage from high school students to use LinkedIn.
Yes. So in the senior, I can speak just for my experience from my older son was in high school 7 years ago to my current senior. The level of LinkedIn knowledge sharing that's happening as a senior as they're preparing to go into college has absolutely increased. It's part of the
Hmm.
curriculum and also teaching them how to, as part of one of their courses, to actually build out their profile and have a presence and how to engage and how to start putting some of that framework out there. As seniors, some of them also do. Oh my gosh, Caroline, what is that called? Where they're taking some college, they're duo registered, so they're
Dual
doing some.
enrollment.
Yes, ma'am, dual enrollment, and so they're already taking some college courses, so they might have a vision of where they're going to go in their career to start putting it out there. Um, so I will add one thing in summary to what both Drew and Caroline also said is a lot of recruiters, a lot of employers are looking at your LinkedIn, and if you're offering a paper version, obviously you need to make sure that they match.
Yeah.
Make sure that the content on both match, the dates match, the roles match, your roles and responsibility, the basics, because that right there is part of your brand, right? That you've made that level of validation, that you are clear on how you're presenting yourself. So that matching, if you're providing both, is very critical in that. Um, and as you again want to pick up what Drew said, whether you're leading into college or you are in college and you have capstones or internships or maybe like my son did, it was a cyber competition. You want to capture that engagement that you did. You want to make sure that you're capturing that stuff real time because sometimes you forget those details. You forget those specifics around what did you do? What was the value add, the dates? Kind of engage with this tool real time so it becomes a wonderful and reliable repository of all of your wonderful experiences.
I think Michael raised a hand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, quick question. And Seppi, you were just speaking to it, but what would be your insights? Because a lot of times, I feel like LinkedIn, even in my own profile, becomes more of a scrapbook, right? So I have, um, while we're trying to create our personal brand, and I almost have two different personal brands, but I have my professional one and then one toward the veteran community and the work that I do there. But also, I've transitioned from IT years ago, and this could even apply to students now, where maybe they have credentials and badges and certifications from stuff that don't apply to the direction that they want to go. So, what would be this panel's advice on maintaining or managing your LinkedIn profile so it doesn't become a scrapbook and it's more directed to feeding into your maybe the direction you want to go? Or is it okay just to put everything there and let people sort through it?
I think from my perspective, being in the industry now for 15 years, I think it's good to have all your information up there, but I think you need to tie in relevant pieces where they're applicable to each area. Because I think there's going to be places where for instance, what you said, the supporting the veteran community versus your IT background, there's
Mhm.
going to be some bleed over there where you can say there's relevant skills from my military background, there's relevant skills from my IT background, and here's how they come together to form the full picture of who I am.
Mhm.
You
And
don't want it to be sporadic and just kind of thrown up there. You want to hopefully make it a clean, concise story. that shows
Right.
your career progression, both personally and professionally.
Would you include, so looking at this page that you have here, for whether it's certifications, it's other stuff, would you keep that clean and concise strictly to your brand, or do you include everything in in your history that you attended, even though it doesn't apply to your brand? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was going to say there's certain things that are just facts, right? I
Mhm.
feel like your education is a fact. Your
Mhm.
badges and certifications, they're a fact. You've
Mhm.
earned something, you have it, even if it's something, let's say it expired, right? One of your certifications expired, but it was a fact. It was there for, I don't know, 4 years. The things that I think are in your control to maintain, to be aligned with wherever your personal vision of your brand is and maybe where you're trying to outline that pathway to go. You
Mhm.
have your section, your about section framework, which is at the very top of your profile, that is very editable. And that is something that I know I've received a lot of feedback and advice on editing with key terminology, key terms, key um, uh, points that really drive engagement, because that is the first area that people look at. And whether they're the recruiter, the employer, an acquaintance, a peer, a colleague, they do make some quick visual assessment of who you are and how they will engage with you. Whether it is to call you and say, Michael, can you be a speaker on this panel? Or Caroline, can you help me with this internship program? I think people do take a quick glimpse and assessment of who you are and how they
Mhm.
engage with you. So that is one area that I know I've been often told to keep maintained with that level of engagement that I'm hoping others will make with me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I would view your LinkedIn profile. I know Caroline touched on it earlier as a resume, but I'd use it more as a one pager of your resume. It's a highlight so that you can give you more opportunity to speak to those when it opens up those dialogues. So it doesn't need to be this long winded, here's all the stuff I've done. A lot of ways
Mhm.
people are finding you on LinkedIn is via keyword search too. So you want to make sure those key terms are listed in there and it gives you the opportunity to open up and speak more about those areas of your expertise.
Awesome. Thank you.
I don't mean to belabor this, but Drew, can I ask you a question from like a recruiting standpoint?
Please.
When and Michael's brings up a great point. And so when you're out searching, are you using AI tools within LinkedIn for summaries? Um, does that come into play? I know it's AI is used a lot, but does that come into play as you bring back content to look for candidates?
Oh, absolutely. AI has been used a lot to cut down administrative tasks. So, we'll take your LinkedIn profile, your resume, and highlights from conversations that we have. We'll plug these all into Chat GPT or another AI tool, sync it up with a job description or notes that we have from intake calls from managers, and say, help me create a summary that most aligns this person, their background and skill sets with this job order or this requisition that we're trying to fill, so that we're really trying to tease out the most relevant points so
Got
that
it.
we can get rid of some of that fluff in those summaries when we are sending them across to clients or prospective hiring managers.
Great. Thank you for doing that. All right. Well, we're gonna continue on with profile optimization. There's a featured section within your LinkedIn profile. And this could include a variety of things, thought leadership posts, presentation webinars, podcast episodes, media mentions. Seppi talked about the resume. If it's part of your featured section, make sure it mirrors what you have on LinkedIn. Sometimes you see some gaps in that, but use that section, highlight the things that you're involved with. It's great content as people search for your profile. Searchability and algorithm awareness. I'm also going to look to the team here to add some background here. But Drew just mentioned about using industry keywords for search visibility. You can place them in the headline, the experience area, the skills, or even the about sections. Seppi loves to call these social signals, the saves, the shares, the comments, and the likes. I love this that she had mentioned to me a while back about dwell times matter. People reading your post and the level of engagement, to me, when I see that, it means that you're intentional and you're authentic about what you're posting. No judgment zone here. But I think the more that you interact like that, or the associations or foundations or whomever, that goes a long way with the dwell times. And then let's not get lazy with posting formatting. Um, Use of white space and headlines, any hooks or call to actions, the CTAs, using polls strategically, and then native video and versus external links. Any additional comments here, team, about searchability and algorithm awareness?
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of insight into how the recruiters are going to be looking for you through these algorithms. A little peek behind the curtain, if you will.
Love it.
Essentially, when we get these in, most recruiters are going to go do a keyword search through a Boolean search. Create and or statements, not statements, to basically filter out from content that's in a resume or LinkedIn profile. So, for instance, if I am finding an Epic Beaker analyst, I'm going to be putting Epic and Beaker and say this is for an implementation or go live. I'm going to have implementation and go live and build experience. And we're going to put these keywords in there. And then that's going to go search your LinkedIn profile, your resume for those keywords. And then it will match that profile up to you based on how many times those keywords are listed. Now, it's not about just throwing them in there willy nilly, because once again, this is just to help us identify your resume and hopefully schedule a call to dig in deeper with you to learn more about that relevant experience. You're not being identified just on these keywords, but it's how you're getting put into these candidate pools to get scheduled for calls to dig in more into your background. So finding relevant ways to tie those keywords into the descriptions of your job is going to be critical in getting identified by external or internal recruiters in the marketplace.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice.
One other little caveat there,
Yes.
there have been some cheat codes. Do not do this. It'll get you in trouble, but we have seen it in the industry where people will use white text and use keywords just at the bottom of the resume to hopefully put their resume above it higher in the algorithms, but those get sniffed out really quickly in the industry and can really get you blacklisted. So don't try to do anything shisty where you're trying to sneak some keywords in there where no one's going to see it. I'm sure everyone's been in college before where they knew, like, you could increase the font size on your periods or commas to make your page look longer. These are all little tricks that will ultimately get you in trouble and not help you.
Do you see that a lot, Drew? Do you see tactics like that?
You will absolutely see that quite a bit. Another one that you will see in the marketplace that's usually a deterrent, but a lot of people see it as a benefit, is bolding those keywords in your resume and highlighting them that way. It's not a good way to get them noticed. We can pick out those words. You do not need to highlight them. Those are usually signs and intents that your resume has been curated and not accurately representing your true
Interesting.
skill sets.
And
That is interesting.
And I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm on my mobile, so I'm having a hard time with that. But I agree with what everyone has said. The one thing that I would add to what Drew is saying is that I think candidates underestimate how small this industry is, right? There is a lot of falsification of skills. There's a lot of AI that is used to drive posts that are so not authentic to who that person is and what they can do. And believe you me, the HC Techs and the intellect resources and the CTGs, we're all talking to each other, right? And we're kind of sharing, these are the bad apples. I got, burned by this person. I got burned by this person. And the one thing that I would just say, particularly for those starting out in their careers, is be authentic. Use AI, but make sure AI is putting things in your voice. Don't falsify anything. It's going to come back and bite you at some point because we're all sharing notes behind the scenes. So if you think about this, recruiters work for my company for several years, they go to another, well, they take that knowledge with them of the bad apples, right? And then say Drew goes to another company, he takes that knowledge with him. So candidates underestimate that.
I love that. It's like humans sharing human stories with each other.
Yeah.
Correct.
I love it. That was a great point. Thank you. Um, on the networking strategy, the connection philosophy that we talk about is by adding value, just not add me. I know LinkedIn's very intentional about if you want to connect with somebody, you add a note. Just as the comment was said, just before, be authentic about why you want to connect. That's very important. People are seeming to be more particular about who they're connecting with and not just having 5,000 connections that you really don't get involved with. The categories, some that you may want to think about, obviously industry peers, hiring managers, recruiters, any C-level people that you've interacted with, for students and early professionals. And then I just started getting into this myself, board roles and associations. I believe the variety of the categories of connections also add values to whom you network with. Anything else here, team?
I think I really want to call out having that industry peers is very important, no matter where you are in that journey. Those are individuals, if you look at them as not just connections, maybe in this platform, but how you grow as a professional. You can see what they're doing, how they're doing it. Um, you know, I know on LinkedIn, I actually I've made some posts about things that might have not always been ideal, maybe in that day for me, and people have really reached out and it resonated with them because often on LinkedIn or even other social media, we see the celebrations, we see all the great stuff, but that's not always reality of day to day life. There are things that go live, even if we're just talking about work, go lives that maybe didn't go ideal, or something you did that wasn't exactly successful, but 15 different lessons learned and ways that now you'll do it better. So when you're connecting with your industry peers or maybe the students in your cohort or in your group of people you're working with, it is so important to connect with them and be able to share successes and opportunities and learn and grow together. That is a network that is so invaluable just in my opinion, that you can grow together. And then there's other strategical connections you want to make as well. And to reiterate what Vince said, if you're trying to connect to the CIO, the COO of whatever, don't just send a connection a technical virtual connection with no note because you will be lost in that whole attempt. But I'm interested in learning more about your journey, or I've seen some of your posts and this resonated with me, or I like the great things that maybe you saw their team accomplishing, and I would love to learn more. Give some kind of indication of where you're trying to go with that relationship or with that engagement or interaction with them that you believe would be a value add to your growth. That's okay, and trying to find those individuals that might have time to help you in your journey, and that's okay to say as well.
I have another question for the team. It's an opinion, your professional opinion that I'd love to hear. Seppi just briefly mentioned about maybe posting something. I don't know how to frame this. It's not a bad day or an opinion or whatever. What do you think you could recommend to us and your groups and about the level of engagement and what you consider maybe, I don't know if it's appropriate, not appropriate, there's a lot more of that on LinkedIn. Any guidance there that you see?
I'm gonna say this is a really, really tricky one,
Okay.
because probably for all of us in here, we understand where that line is, right?
Yeah.
I'm having a bad day. I put that out there. It's done in a very professional way.
Right.
Versus, let's say, some of the go live consultants in our industry that want to go in and just really go down a rabbit hole about what a
Yeah.
bad day they had at a client site, or somebody wants to go down a complete rabbit hole that they've had an argument with somebody, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I would say that for someone just starting out in their career, I probably wouldn't get that personal at this point until they kind of reach a level of maturity to have that user discretion on
Okay.
what they should and shouldn't. Now, I love seeing the young, fresh graduates or the college students in my friends' kids and those things. I love when they're posting about, what school project they just
Yeah.
did, or, what they just accomplished at work,
Yeah.
or hey, I work hard and I play hard, and look at my beautiful sunset I'm looking at this week. I love seeing the young kids engaging, and we get to see what they're doing professionally. So I'd probably do more about, their work or their courses or those type things versus doing something incredibly um, personal till they get a little bit better with their discretion. Remember, this is a generation that grew up online. They vomit everything on paper that they do, right?
Yeah. Good
And
point. Great.
to
Great.
piggyback off of that, I think sharing some personal stories isn't necessarily wrong, but you have to be very careful when you're doing it and making sure that you're phrasing it as just a general challenge. You're never finger pointing, you're not blaming anybody else, you're not blaming an organization, anything like that. You're saying like, hey, I had this big project last week, and then I had, a mom get sick and all this stuff. You can talk about those general challenges that humanize you.
Yeah. I like
You
that.
just do not want to be look like you're casting blame to others. And really, if you talk about those challenges, a great thing to do there is talk about how you overcame them. What you do to overcome that. Don't just talk about the issue. Talk about how you solve the issue.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I think Michael raised a hand again.
Yeah, I like sticking my hand up. So,
No, you know what? Thank
uh,
you. It helps me because I don't have the camera in front of me, but thank
so
you for doing that.
question. I do some career coaching with in both the veteran community as people are transitioning out, in addition to college students. And it's not uncommon for me to hear them say, "I'm trying to network. I'm trying to connect with people. I'm sending invites, but people will accept it, but nobody will respond to me." And so my advice to them is always don't make it about you, make it about them. Find a post that they've written about, acknowledge that, show interest in what they're doing, and then slowly work your way in. But I'm still hearing that that's one of the common themes is that people just struggle getting people to respond to them. And then
Yeah.
sometimes I think that might lead to some of these posts that you're seeing of either overselling or complaining or other stuff. What advice would you give transitioning veterans or college students who struggle in getting people to respond or anything?
Linda raised her hand as well. I don't know if she has a response to that. Linda?
Yes, that's a good question, Michael. I struggled with that specific issue for a long time. Just new in the industry, healthcare tech, and having moved to a new state, I moved from Kansas to Georgia. Now, how do I make these connections? And yes, I would get ghosted, as they call it, on LinkedIn. What has worked is attending chapter events and getting engaged in person to local events. Whenever I've sent in a connection request and the person doesn't know me, but then they meet me again, then I'm like, oh, I did send you a request some time back. You probably were too busy, did not see it. Do you mind accepting my request? And they do. It always works better when they can put a face to the name.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you, Linda.
Absolutely, to piggyback off that, getting involved with local chapters and societies is absolutely critical. I think we lost a lot of that during COVID when everything went remote. Everyone got way too comfortable sitting behind their computers, and the anonymity that comes with that makes it so easy to get ghosted. Just to not respond to an email, not respond to a LinkedIn message. Digitally, that has become acceptable. But in person, if you are there to go shake a hand and go meet them, they're not just going to ignore you and walk off and see that you aren't there anymore. So, a thing that you can do to hopefully engage with them online is mention how you are involved in those societies. Invite them to come with you or ask if they will be attending one of those events and be a great time to shake their hand, meet them, and talk to them in person. And that's how you're really going to build those genuine relationships.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it, Drew.
Thank you. Just continuing on the networking strategy, there is a balance that we recommend. A third of it is aspirational. I think Drew just talked a little bit about this, meeting people in person, people maybe a couple of levels above you. A third of that peers, and I love this one. A third of it is future talent if you're in the business of building a pipeline. So that could be a good balance of how you create your network. And I'm sure Drew knows a lot about this. The DM LinkedIn templates for outreach, whether they're warm introductions or coffee chats or informational interviews, reconnecting, post-event follow-ups. But what I'm hearing from this group, the words like authentic keep coming up. And I'm especially sensitive is that, please use your voice. Because I think people are beginning to sniff out what may be just generated in certain ways versus who my authentic self is. Any other comments on that team? Good.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be using AI to do stuff, always make sure that you go over it and spin it into your own words. It'd be great to create a framework, but don't lean on it too hard. You'll start to atrophy a lot of those muscles that we need to use in everyday human to human interaction. Um, it is absolutely critical. I mean, sometimes I'll even throw a typo in one of my emails when I'm reaching out to people just so that they know that, hey, listen, this came from me. This has not come from some AI tool. You get to see that there's some human error in there. This is authentically me.
I love that.
I'm gonna grammar check
I
you from
love
now on,
that.
Drew.
Drew, I think that's brilliant. So for some thought and voice and thought leadership content, your perspective, this is what I'm seeing in my industry. This is what I'm hearing in healthcare. It's your opinion. Your opinion matters. I love storytelling. In 2025, I learned this. Any tactical tips that goes, I see a lot of that from people promoting their services or businesses. I love reading those posts. Um, I personally believe there's both a machine and emotional gratitude algorithm. When you go out of your way to thank somebody or be grateful to what someone has done for you or with you, to me, that goes a long way. Any event participation and peer recognition, obviously, visual content goes a long way, video, carousels, infographics, and any events that you take any photos you take from events. It depends how active you are on LinkedIn. I mean, 1 to 2 posts a week is good. Some people are on there every day. Some people are posting stuff every day. It's just a matter of what level you want to be involved with and how much engagement you want to create, or where you are in your professional journey, where you're a business owner or looking for a job. So if you have attended an event, just small reminders, make your post useful. Just don't say, hey, I was there. I had a fun time in Philadelphia. Tell us why it mattered. Any content, something that you've learned. And the posts that really connect usually include a couple of things that Seppi has pointed out to me. Your context was the event. What was the event and why did you go? Who did you meet, learn from, or hear from? I'm sure you meet a lot of people. Take time to write their names down, look at their badge, remember them, and tag them. And what you learn, notice, or appreciate. What was your opinion about the event? Any type of pictures, just keep it simple, valuable, and shareable. And just some examples. If you don't want to put this into Gemini, you can just use our PowerPoint. I attended in or I showed up because three things that stood out to me. Thank you, so and so, for leading. That goes a long way. And then curious what other people are thinking about. This turns a great event photo into something that actually helps your ecosystem to learn and grow together. So you bring benefit to other people. And I know events are about the people and community and ideas that they share in person. So I think you could really learn from that and post and reflect on that. And any student or early career professional, it seems to be the fastest way to build your voice and brand and network on LinkedIn. I will defer to the experts on this call to see if there's anything else in there, especially for students or early career professionals.
I just want to make a comment on this that it's making me laugh because it's the template I actually used when I just came back from HIMSS 26. Was trying to figure out how do I recap the experience that I have because it was my first time.
Oh,
And and to everybody's point, I think
I
we're
love
all
it.
practicing the right manners of AI, right? I created my post in AI. It already knows who I am and how I speak. And so when it went in to polish it, it was so subtle. And I just reviewed the things that it talked about, recognized the people I saw, recognizing the vendors I was able to experience, and really coming in with a story of recapping my experience there, and not just saying, "Hey, I went to HIMSS and this is what happened, and thanks to everybody who let me go." No, I gave them a story, and also trying to remember, which is the hardest part when you're recapping meetings, is not to make it too long, right? Because when you hit that more link and you see that that post is that big, there's people are immediately going to say, "Nope, I don't want to read all of
Yeah.
this," or "This is just enough for me to capture my attention." So these notes were in line with the way I was trying to recap my first experience there.
I'm curious. You used AI as a starting point, a foundation to get your thoughts out?
Yes. Yes, because it's like um it's word vomit. So I
Oh, I love
start
it. Yes,
creating the post and then it helps align the introduction, the body, and the recap.
I love it. Michael?
Yeah, I was at HIMSS 26 and was one of the speakers there, and two people did something that stood out, which really triggered me to want to follow up with them. And it's because they did exactly what you're talking about here. They went through, they summarized the different sessions that they went to that day and summarize what my session was about and the impact that it made. And
Mm,
because they called me out and about the session, then I'm like, okay, now I want to follow up with them and see if there's anything else that I can do for them. And so that was a quick way to get my attention where now I feel obligated to go to them because they created a post, they tagged me, and now I feel almost an obligation to now make sure that I'm connecting to them or with them.
excellent. Thank you.
And another strategy on top of what everyone said is when you do go to an event or you do something and share, you can parse it out to multiple posts throughout that week or two.
Mhm.
One of the things, it can be a commonality that you talk about for a while. I think people also feel the need that it happened today, and by today or tomorrow, I need to post my recap, and that's it. But if you find some nuggets of information that are there that you want to continue on, bringing up or discussing or pointing out and building upon for content for the weeks to come, there's nothing wrong with that as well. Long as there's some valuable information that you really want to expand upon, that makes sense.
Mhm.
And I'm sure everybody's noticed, you may or may not notice, but the more you are engaged and the more your network engages, LinkedIn's algorithm becomes smarter and it keeps recommending things to you, like connect with this person, follow this person. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming as when you open up your feed and you have, oh, this is recommended. So just also be careful and intentional about who you're commenting on and who you're connecting with, something that just relates to your network. And then here, just commenting on other leaders' posts, if you're following somebody, whether they're speakers or coaches, um, engage with them, tag sparingly and with value, use mentions to elevate others, and then ask questions to drive comments. It's nice sometimes when someone takes more time to say, hey, I enjoyed this. I have another question to follow up. It also engages the community to keep going on about the topic. Um, Drew probably has a lot of more experience in this with career and opportunity tools. LinkedIn has evolved in this area. There's a lot of questions about, using the open to work banner. Recommendations, it depends on you, but you can turn it on just for recruiters versus everyone. And messaging that doesn't sound desperate, sounds professional. And skills and endorsements, how your endorsements influence your search rankings. I am a big fan of endorsements. Endorsements to me are very authentic. They're very real, and it does show or gives you some insights into maybe how you managed, maybe how you volunteered, maybe how you were a board member. All of those things coming from a peer helps. And then recommendations. It's also good to return the favor, how to request one, write one that helps the positioning of that. It could help with board roles or even job roles. Anything else there, team, that you want to add into?
Yeah, I got a question for you on the open for work. And this always feels a little controversial. When somebody is employed at an organization, and especially early in their career, but they're looking to maybe move to a different job or organization and they put that open to work, do you recommend that they put it visible to everybody to widen the net within their network, or to keep it only visible to recruiters? Because for me, I feel like that might put them at risk if their current organization sees that they're openly looking for opportunities. Or do you find that that's not a bad thing from the recruiting side?
From my perspective on this one, if you are currently in a role and you have not discussed with your organization that you are looking for new opportunities, then do not post that out there. Even if you just open it to recruiters, once again, as Tiffany touched on, it's a small world here in the staffing world. And it doesn't take long for one recruiter to talk to another recruiter, like, hey, I noticed this person from your organization was looking for work, and it can turn out poorly.
Right.
Now, there's also another camp of turning it on when you don't have a job. I think it's a good idea if your own job searches have not bore fruit within a couple of months. But I think in the first couple of months, if you've lost a job or let go, it's not necessarily a great idea to put that open right at the front. Try to
Mhm.
utilize your personal and professional networks to reach out for career opportunities. And if those dry up, then that would be the time that I would recommend putting the open to work banner on your LinkedIn profile.
Hey,
Okay.
I want to jump in here just strategically. The best candidates are passive candidates,
Yeah.
the ones who are not in the market, because you don't have a lot of competition for other roles that you're working on, etc. So I am more of the camp that you don't put it on there, because those recruiters that really dig in and do the work and that are after the very best candidates are going to find you if everything else is there. The only exception that I, probably have to that are for individuals who are independent consultants and they're always looking for work, right? Doesn't matter. They're just saying, hey, they're open to a phone call. But I'm more of the camp. Just don't mess with that. And then, have that open to work, accept a role, forget to take it down, and then all of a sudden, your new employer sees it. I'm just at the camp, don't use it unless you're an independent consultant. But I
Right.
might be contrary in that, but that's my 2 cents on it.
Okay.
I
Thank you.
would say that that's definitely the most valuable
Mhm.
way to use the open to work banner is if you are a career consultant and you're just moving from project to project.
Yeah.
Um, that is definitely the way to best utilize the open to work banner.
Right. Thank you.
Or
Go ahead,
I
please.
was going to say, or our students, right? So if you guys are finishing up your degree, you're about to graduate in the next year or 6 months, or and you want to start communicating that you're available, you're looking for that full-time job. That is another, I think, opportunity to maybe take advantage of that tool.
From a job search perspective, there's, easy applies on LinkedIn. Apply with your LinkedIn profile. Again, Drew probably has a lot more comments or insights into this. Make sure your resume or resumes are up to date. Some people have various versions of a
Hmm.
resume, depends on what they're applying for. Salary transparency is a big thing on any job board. LinkedIn is a big job board, and they will post salaries, estimated salaries, if the employer is not posting it. Indeed makes it part of their postings. Saving all your searches and alerts. I'm a big user of Sales Navigator, which gives me insights into um, company executives or employees, and maybe some salary history. And I know there's a lot of energy now and about my job, AI agent talking to an employer's AI agent. So just be careful in how you go through this and what you and apply. And then I know we're getting close to time, but if you do want to do a 7-day LinkedIn makeover challenge, we've created one for you. So day one, just think about your headline, optimizing that headline. The second day, update your about section. And day three, just hone in on your skills and keywords. Look at other profiles, do some research. Drew also mentioned the metrics part. Again, I did something and I did it by 4x. It doesn't go far anymore. And then we have a hand raised. I'm sorry, I'm not going to pronounce your name well. Saket?
Yeah, no worries. My name is Socket.
I apologize. Go ahead.
No worries, no worries. My name is Socket. I just wanted to come on and say thank you for all the good information. I'm actually one of Caroline's interns, and it's funny because I just posted on LinkedIn, reflecting my internship experience. So all this information has been really well.
Thank you. Thank you for coming off mute and sharing that, and yeah, just thank you for being here and thank you for that feedback. And we'll share the link, and please feel free to share this with others as well in your
Okay,
cohort or in your network. If anyone can find any value in any of this to help with their growth and getting their voice out there, that's what we're about.
I will. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And thank you,
And good
Caroline.
luck. Good luck to you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Good luck.
Well, team, thank you. Vince, thank you so much for your kindness, your generosity of time, and always supporting everyone out there in our profession and our industry. And everyone else, thank you for your willingness to spend your lunchtime with us. Everyone on here will share the recording, and please share it with anyone that you think could value from this conversation. And you guys are all amazing. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Take
Thank
care.
you. This was
Have a good
good.
one.
Thank you, Vince.